Sounds great.
This is our role, mate. You know what I mean? None of this like intros, none of this like,
Oh, they get
well,
boring though, right? Though when if you listen to a particular podcast, you're getting the same stuff.
yeah, that's the thing, mate.
Up ahead.
And yeah, and then you end up skipping the first part of the conversation, right? And it
Yeah,
seems scripted, it seems a little less authentic. And I mean, this just had humble beginnings, dude. Like we were saying before. So it's like it's two people having a chat.
that's how I
That's it,
like.
mate. Mate, OG in New Zealand. I've been hearing your name in certain circles for 4 years now, mate. It's a privilege to finally sit down. I know it's through a frigging screen and that, but mate, something's better than nothing at the end of the day. And I think,
Exactly. Got to start somewhere, and yeah, it's we got to make do with technology, use it to our advantage. So
yeah,
it's,
man,
it's helpful in that sense.
it is,
Good to be
it is,
chatting.
and we can also like disconnect and then just jump off into the bush, right, or up the mountain, and be away
Exactly.
from things. And
Yeah.
I think it's cool. That
Yeah.
one New Zealand thing is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah. Hey, it's
I've,
no different from ye old time pen pal, right? We're just doing it a little bit faster.
yeah,
There's a little bit more of an instantaneous effect, but don't have to wait for 6 months for the letter to be carried on a ship.
maybe
But
we should do a podcast via postcards or something. See if that's gonna kick off. Be a bit of a boring show,
there'd be
like
a bunch of people who would tune in for that somehow. There'd be a a long tail. What do you call it? There'd be a group of people who would love that.
there's always a group of people for everything, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
mate, it seems like at least to me, at least to an outsider's perspective, you encapsulate wellness beautifully.
Wow, no one has put it quite like that before. Do go on.
You can have that one for free. You know what I mean? No, I think it goes off that balance, thing what we were saying literally 5 minutes ago. Of yeah, we go down the whole CrossFit thing. We do go down the whole competing thing. We go through the whole high intensity, go, 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 fast,
Mm,
fast. And then we
mm,
learn from it.
mm.
And you're like, all right, well, there was some pros there. There was some cons there. We're going to take the lessons. We're going to, you know, learn from the mistakes and we're going to
Yeah,
move on.
yeah,
And then it kind of swings the
yeah,
other way. And it's a pendulum that goes left to
yeah,
right, right? And I feel
yeah,
like, at least again, like from an outsider's perspective, you've centralized. And I think
yeah.
that's
That's
a
that's fair.
beautiful
Yeah.
progression, mate. I think it's you people will look at it and be like, wow, it's a shitload of learning here, guys.
Hmm.
Like, and now we're somewhat in the middle and can take from both sides. I think that's perfect. I think that's what we all need to try and strive for, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that you nailed it there. If we are not progressing or evolving, um, what's going on? We're gonna go extinct, right?
Mm.
That's definitely the issue. Um, and I would like to think that I am someone who is more than happy to admit when he's wrong, um, and to try their best because it's not easy, but to try to learn from their mistakes. And yeah, I've made a few as the song goes. So, and it's I think what that's the interesting thing. Like some people might think that I'm sort of anti CrossFit now, some kind of reformed smoker, trying to tell people
Yeah.
not to do it, even though I was one of the first in this country at least. Um, but yeah, it's just evolving. And what I often actually think about, because I'm sure we'll talk a bit more specifically about CrossFit, having both been in that world. It's that whole overreaction in the short term. And when CrossFit first came along, it was like nothing we'd ever seen.
Yeah.
What we did was very, very rigid and structured. In the strength and conditioning world, in the sports science, exercise physiology worlds, very rigid, very lab based, very all the information came from research, and then this sort of like outlaw comes strolling in, and it's just like do a bunch of shit and go ham.
Mm.
And so the first time I saw it, of course, I turned my nose up at it and was very snooty about it. Like, but that's ridiculous. Who does 100 pull-ups? And then I'm not even sure why I looked at it again. But me and a mate did one of the workouts and had never kind of gone head to head in the gym before in that sense. And we just sort of looked at each other afterwards, like that was cool.
Mm.
and yeah, on we went. But like anything, we then became only that, and started forgetting about zone 2, which is interesting, seeing it all sort of slowly coming around full circle. We started forgetting about rest days. We started forgetting about different energy systems, even though CrossFit fully quotes, the energy systems to us. And that's why, again, I'm excuse the long-winded
no, please,
rant here, but I'm not anti-CrossFit. I'm anti-CrossFitters.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's not CrossFit's fault that any of this, like that injuries happen, that burnout happens, that poor technique happens. It's CrossFitters, and to a certain extent CrossFit coaches, and to a certain extent CrossFit gyms, and all of those three go hand in hand. And whether it's just become like a game of telephone, I sometimes talk about, the message comes in, it goes through a few filters, and it comes out the end, and it's just go nuts.
Yeah.
I think we're circling back, and there are a lot of gyms doing it differently. Sorry, the sun just decided to come shining massively in the blind. Am I still all right on video there?
Yeah, mate, you're all good. I can see you. It's just like you got a halo above your head.
Oh, perfect. Perfect by design.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more with that. And you're probably going to push a button, and you're going to get me super passionate, and I'm going to go down a rabbit hole in a minute here. Like, fantastic. I think we're all to blame for the good and the bad. If you really did get obsessed with this thing and dive down every fucking avenue we could in the CrossFit journals and really strip it apart as an art form, like, it is quite widespread, right? Mm-hmm. But I think us as the individuals, we have our own natural bias, and we've allowed it to grow a little bit too large in recent years, right? So we're doing way too many shoulder movements. We emphasize the barbell too much. We're trying to go times on a whiteboard too much. We're sprinting. We're only working in a 7 to 12 minute time domain.
Yeah.
We want to do double days. We want to do triple days. We want to stay behind later. And it's like, why? Like, if you can't answer me why, then probably shouldn't be doing it. And I think we need to just take a more curious approach. Okay, could we bring in maces into the gym? Probably wouldn't work out. All right, cool. But we need to ask the question, but can we bring it into a specific warm-up accessory piece, different class, yada, 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 yada? Can we sprinkle it in on the top? The answer might be yes. It might be, I'm not sure. It's being curious. It's being open-minded rather than once a week we're going to do a hero workout.
Yeah.
You're like,
it's letting go of because of course the scoring has interfered with that open-mindedness. If it can't be scored, if it doesn't have clear start and end points, then why do it according to the frothy CrossFitter, right? So a mace 360, you can't really do those for time. I'm sure someone's tried, but
someone.
Where's the start and the end point of it? Does it how close does it have to be to your back when it's swinging around? You just get into the weeds, let alone some of the more varied movements. So yeah, things like that. Every time I see a kettlebell swing at a CrossFit comp, and we had them at the regionals in, I don't know when, early days, 2012.
Was it strict Nate?
No, it was called the hundreds. It was 100 pull-ups or chest to bar, I can't remember now, and then 100 swings, and then 100 double unders, and then 100 overhead squats. And I ripped my hands wide open on the pull-ups. I can remember I couldn't even feel my arms on the overhead squats. I was doing kind of like these ghost overhead squats. The bar was just hovering above me because there's no connection. I was numb from here up, and I'm just like kind of crossing my fingers and hoping I could do it. But yeah, we had to swing to directly overhead, bell pointing at the sky, had to see the ears, just a ridiculous standard. So and that's very rare. They actually held us to it. It was impressive. but you very rarely would see that at a local comp, so things like that, they can't be scored well. Yeah. But and again, if we go into that sort of thing, I just think just eliminate movements that are too tough to score. I don't know what podcast I was listening to recently, but that was sort of a topic that came up as well, just that the judging is getting too complicated.
Yeah,
but it's because the movements are not evolving in this. Well, they're evolving in the sense that they're trying to keep it varied and try to keep us all interested, but that makes things more complicated. Hence, the judging gets more complicated, and hence the judging gets more inaccurate. But yeah, coming back to the other thing was like in the gym, in our for us normal people, we can do great with pick a sandbag, carry it to the other end of the gym, do a squat, carry it back. A to B stuff is a lot simpler. And what do you think about this mace thing? Does this feel cool? Does this feel fun? Like, no, it doesn't matter how many reps you do or anything like that. Just give it a 12, see what happens. That's great. And that's the stuff that I like doing now.
That's the thing, man. I think we're tarring everyday population with the same brush as we tar athletes. Right? It's like the two separate patents, guys. We're going to need different tools. Like we don't always have to go for quantifiable results. Not always. Yeah, it's necessary.
And it helps
sometimes.
as coaches, right? It gives us an avenue to try and prove to the person that they're fitter.
Yeah.
And that's where it's tough, like, because we're telling them and they come in and like, hey, don't worry about that 6-pack shit. That's old school fitness. That's not important. We're going to focus on what your bodies can do, not how they look like. And hey, maybe you'll get leaner and gain muscle as well. That's just a welcome side effect.
Yeah.
And that person who joined for 6-pack and more muscle is like, oh, all right, well, you've convinced me. All right, performance is what it's all about. And so you change their mind and you make them pursue this other thing. And then next thing, they're pursuing that. And you ask, why are you doing that? Because you told me. And so it's an interesting one, where the sweet spot, like finding that sweet middle ground, that's what it is. It's like, it's all right to try to be leaner. Like, let's, despite the health at any size movements and a lot of that stuff, you're usually only healthy momentarily at any size. Long term, not true. So we know that being leaner, and that doesn't mean shredded, but leaner is healthy. Why can't we be, still talking about that? As well as, performance is great, but I bring up the example all the time of, the Greek legend of Milo, and his dad gave him a calf when he was young, and he was like, lift the ball over your head every time. And then eventually the bull weighs 1,000 pounds and he's the strongest man in all of Greece. But doesn't happen. At some point, you can't lift the ball anymore. Do you just quit fitness then? And I talk to, it's guys my age, 40-year-old guys who are getting frustrated. They can't put another kilo on their snatch or their back squat. It's like, dude, we have to entertain the possibility that you are not going to get any stronger now. You started too late, or maybe you started too early and you are just 100% maxed out genetic ceiling. So do you quit fitness, or do you learn to swing a mace? Do you see what your 12 RM squat is? Do you see what your 20 RM mixed rack walking lunges? There's a ton of things we can still play with. But if you just get focused on shit, it's like, I remember spending 2 years to increase my snatch by 1 kilo. That gets boring. I'm just not interested in that kind of butting head against it. Well, although saying that, I'll happily spend 2 years improving my handstand balance, but I'm not as frustrated about it. That was 2 years of being fucked off every day. I couldn't improve my snatch. Now, if my handstand's not going well in a certain week, it's like, it's just part of the journey. It's great. It'll be better next week.
Yeah, I guess that would be the question to ask the athlete and yourself, right? Is, do you want to be stronger, whatever that means, body's ability to generate force, right? Or do you want to be a better weightlifter? If you want to be a specific weightlifter, you're going to have to do that, guys. If you want to train for performance, you're going to be beat up, guys. If you want to be a little fitter, a little happier, a little healthier, you probably don't need to do that. Let's sprinkle it in here, there, and everywhere. Let's play with some other things. Let's have that variance approach, And sometimes we're going to take the foot off the gas, That's all right, guys. Turn the frigging clock off, for Christ's sake. Like, move around. Work is still work, I have an analogy of digging holes. And every day you've got to dig a hole, right? But each day, the tool that you use is going to change. So one day might be a shovel. The next day might be a bulldozer. The third day might be a teaspoon. And on the fourth day, you're going to get outside on your hands and knees and fucking dig with your bare hands. But every day you're going to dig a hole.
Yeah.
And it's going to be different sizes, and that's okay. And it's trying to get that approach across to, let's be honest, mate, most of the people that we see with our eyes, we're not in pro sport. Most of the people we see in our eyes just want to be a little bit fitter and happier, right? And that's kind of it. So I think our perspective, coach's perspective, and I'm going to try and word this as a question of, do you think we have become so bogged down with the numbers that we have forgot about the person in front of us?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's, I think that ties in very nicely with all the stuff we've been talking about. That obsession with performance. And again, it's that swings and roundabouts and overemphasizing and exaggerating in the short term, or overemphasizing in the short term. So I know we're starting to swing back towards the middle. I don't think it's happening much in the CrossFit world. It's influences from other fitness areas. Again, zone 2, like no one in CrossFit has popularized zone 2. That's your Hubermans and your Peter Attias and that sort of crew. But CrossFitters are starting to listen, so that's a good thing. But if you go to, like, you drop in on a local CrossFit affiliate, we're still seeing a lot of the mistakes where. Yeah, and this is, again, I'm not looking to insult anyone who owns or coaches in a local affiliate, but if I just picked one out of a hat and dropped in, I would probably expect it to be at least 5 years behind where I feel that I was with my gym and my clients 2 years ago, because that's when I shut it down and moved. There's a lot to catch up, and that frustrates me, not in an arrogant sense. Like, I'm not saying that I'm right per se, but it's. I always feel like, heck, if I've gone and made some of these mistakes, like, I would love for people to be able to learn from them.
Yes.
Not just make them themselves once again. Nothing pisses me off more. And we talk about, before that you started recording, like big cities overseas and versus here. And I see a lot of mistakes happening in both in Auckland when I was there and now here down in Mount Maunganui, like in terms of like traffic and construction and and it's like, God, like, could you not just look at Copenhagen and go, they've nailed it, let's do that? No, we have to spend 50 years making a mess of it before hopefully someone or we just get busy enough so that traffic stops moving and then they'll finally sort it. That shit boggles my mind. So I've always would like to at least let my mistakes help other people. Don't know if I really answered your question just then, but I think, like, definitely performance is sometimes, overemphasized because of that previous little rant. At some point that ends, at least in the classic sense. If you can't reformulate what performance means to you, then you're going to hit the wall, the ceiling, and then what? So if as coaches, we're conditioning our clients to only think about performance, how do they get into their 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and still feel inspired and motivated to exercise? Because that's the problem. We hammer them with that during their 30s and 40s. And then, sometimes I joke that I'm often rehabbing CrossFitters because they come into me and I don't know how to exercise by myself. I can't do it without the motivation of a group. I need people to push me. I don't know how to not chase new scores. I don't know how to go slow. My wife actually trains at a BFT. No. And she tells me about people sometimes she's paired up with who, when they have strength days, they can't rest and they'll be doing burpees during the rest period or jumping lunges or something, and they've got that. That's more, I think, boot camp, but it's a similar kind of thing, right? Like, they don't understand how to do things with different goals. And so that's an issue. And so we need to start talking about that stuff very early on. but yeah, it's marketing. We've got to make money as well. And like, how do you get people to join if you're going to start talking about intrinsic motivation and finding fulfillment in fitness and developing a purpose? You know, it's a tough sell. Maybe one day, but
it is. It is, and I think the high intensity piece gets people in. That is the selling point.
Yep. Yep.
And
maybe we even tell ourselves, "Oh, hey, once I get them in, I can fix them later." But then you got to focus on the next person.
In the next sale,
you've got some churn, and that's where it falls down. And we'd like to say that, hey, with 100 or 200 people in the gym, we can focus on everyone, and we can make sure everyone's problems are met, and we scale for them, and we know what their kids' names are. And no, you don't. Maybe 20 or 30. But that's already too many people to properly look after. I think, my opinion. If that's our approach, which is like hook them on the exciting stuff, on the excitement, as I call it, and then try to tell them that 5 whys and mindset and growth and purpose. They don't want to hear that now. Plus, you've got all the other excited people who are joining on the back end. So there's never a time to get that. And that's what I tried to do in the last few years. I was really trying hard to make it cool to not just scale. And we called it optimize. We tried to change the language. We called it optimizing, not scaling, because scaling was a dirty word in CrossFit. So it was optimizing the workout for you was a little bit easier to wrap your head around. But also people with injuries, it wasn't we're going to work around this. It was you're coming out of class. We're going to give you a whole new program for 12 weeks, and you're going to do it. But we want you to come to class and just be at the back or the side. Again, down the back was always hard. Come to the side of the class, do the program, and just making it cool. And then other people saw that it was actually fine to do that. Oh, hey, and such seems to be making really good progress. Yet their shoulder was bung a while back. I've got a bung shoulder. Maybe I should be doing what they're doing. And just slowly getting it to the point where people were totally fine to optimize. They were doing it before they even asked a coach. They were coming to us and saying, hey, I need this other thing. And we were really getting there where it became this. Yeah, I used to even sort of put it in terms of, you join the gym and you get access to the gym, you get access to coaching, you get access to programming, and then group class is free. That's the tack on at the end. Versus, the other way around, which is again typical CrossFit or any other high intensity group, which is group classes is the thing.
You got to pay for the
if you want PT, we'll have to pay extra for that, or we'll try to help you with your injury poorly. We'll try to do extra things. We'll try to do some mindset stuff. Ask how you're doing. Send you a couple of texts maybe if you're going through some bad shit. But yeah, it's always the group class is the main thing. So I just tried to flip that. We're doing okay. But yeah, that nasty flu came around and it just started to get a bit hard. So
how was it working out? Did it work? I mean, obviously, in your opinion.
We were getting there. Yep, absolutely. But here's the thing, I could see it was happening. I could see it happening, and then it did happen where I needed to lose a lot of the hardcores.
Yeah.
When I say hardcore, like not like full frothy CrossFit, I didn't really have any of those anyway. But people who were still very much bought into the performance side of things needed to go and train somewhere else for the most part, because if they were still in that part of their journey, it was hard for me to just tell them, hey, look, I realized I wasn't quite right with that. You need to do it this way now. And that's what they were hearing, right? Like 1 minute you tell me go hard, now you're telling me to go easy. It felt like a real flip flop for a lot of people. And it probably was. It's like turning the Titanic. It has to happen slowly. And I tried, but I know it was too much too soon for some people. And it's all right. They went and found another gym. There were 6 others on my street, so that was not a problem. And got what they wanted, and that was fine. And then that became easier, right? That's what had to happen. As every new person joined, we were changing the composition of the community towards what I was I was trying to achieve. And so, yeah, every time that happened, and of course, there were plenty of people who were ready for the message, who changed their mind along with me as well, and you know, came along for that ride. But yeah, we were getting there for sure. It was great.
Would you ever do the OG typical CrossFit style, or was it like all zone 2, all no clock?
Oh, no, we still, like, I still believe in high intensity, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, much less frequent. Much less frequent. And yeah, as far as like, yeah, like I very rarely had people come in and say, hey, look, we're going to be just roaming around the machines for 45 minutes, nasal breathing only.
Yeah.
But what I would do in those sort of scenarios, though, I would mix it up. So yeah, there would be some cardio machines, but I'd throw in, you know, some moderate carries, some sled drags, some high rep swings, body weight movements, some flow kind of stuff. Yeah, I even brought in my maces and clubs sometimes for people to play with. And so we just naturally created a zone 2 pace around the workout that went for a long time, but made it a little bit more interesting. Because again, I understand, you know, some people need that stimulation. You know, there's you go into chat rooms and you'd see arguments about who, you know, host, because 5K run is the most posted workout on CrossFit.com. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And so there's the affiliates who run 5Ks, and then there's affiliates who don't, and both think they're right, you know. And both have got good arguments for why they should or shouldn't do it. But I leant towards not the 5K because I felt like it was removing a chance to coach. But of course, 5K enthusiasts would say, well, we do all the coaching at the start. We talk pose running and we talk warm-ups, and we talk strategy, and then off they go. So, you know, there's a bit of both for that. But yeah, I was somewhere more towards I still want these workouts to be interesting while I'm finding a way to make them well, better for them.
Yeah. In terms of GPP, I got such a wide goalpost philosophy of like, let's just sprinkle in everything. Let's try everything. You know, over time, we've got fucking time, guys. Hopefully I can help this individual until either they or me die. Right. I don't want to see them in 6 months and they disappear. I don't want to see them for 4 weeks and they disappear. Right. Yeah. Okay. I might move gym. We move countries. They move on. Life changes. No problem. But if everything else stayed the same, one of us is going to die first. And we're still helping each other out. That's the kind of mindset I go for, that GPP style, base of the pyramid. Let's build it as wide and as strong as we can. So that means sometimes you're going to nasal breathe. That means sometimes you're not going to touch the barbell. Sometimes you are going to touch the barbell. You have to go fast. You have to go slow. You know, let's learn all these different things, guys. It's play at the end of the day, right? It's adult friggin' PE. You know, get your head out your ass. It's adult PE. It's all okay. You know, I had a member the other day ask about, probably tongue in cheek, right? Was ask about transitions. I was like, mate, you're not going to games.
I
was like, yeah, but like the class before, and then because it was a busier class, so we had to get things out of the way and all that kind of stuff, like a little bit of housekeeping. I was like, brother, it's adult PE, mate. You're gonna get a good workout in regardless. And guess what? I'm gonna guarantee if your rower was right next to your station, you would walk around it because you want more rest. I was like, you're gonna be all right, mate. It's all good.
And it's I call that sometimes it's the curse of the intermediate. You know, when they know just enough to be dangerous. Which is really, you know, knowing enough to second guess everything they do, to be listening to too many podcasts, to be second guessing the coach, to be second guessing themselves. Curse of the intermediate. You know, I'd have someone, you know, coach, can you watch me front squat? I think I feel like I'm like moving 5 degrees, you know, too much into my glute medius, and it's probably because of those deadlifts we did the other day, and I felt like something was pulling up on my left upper scap. And I think it's moved me, you know, contralaterally. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, just try and pull evenly. I've geeked out on that stuff in the past, but yeah, now I just like, we're just exercising. If you move well, you'll probably be fine. If you've got some issue, it'll probably go away. It's just today you slept funny.
Hey guys, I want you to meet triple extension and blah, blah, blah. Hey guys, jump.
Yeah. Jump and land. Coach B said it best.
Fuck all that other stuff. Just jump for me, yeah?
Yeah.
And then punch and then reach. Like it's
yeah,
we overcomplicate it. It's just like business, right? If we put these fancy terms ahead of it, people don't understand what that term is, nor how to spell it. And then we're like, oh, you must be really smart. We need to pay you for your time and your service.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a longer bloody word meaning the same thing, guys.
Well, us coaches are just as guilty of that curse of the intermediate, right? Like, the most technical coaches are typically the more intermediate ones. Because it starts out, and you're getting taught, typically, if it's a good coach, they're teaching you jump and land, jump and land, jump and land. And you're like, oh, I'm getting pretty good at the snatch stuff. I'm going to go and read Greg Everett's book. And then I'm going to decipher some Chinese stuff. And next thing you're like, all right, so what we got to do is da-da-da, and pulling in a second pull in this and triple extension, this and catapult method, and Bulgarians did it this way, and blah, blah, and you're in the weeds so hard. And then hopefully you pop out the other end and suddenly you're jump and land, jump and land.
Return back to where you started, mate, It's like I always say, like, you basically put it across like you're talking in layman's terms. And if somebody asks you why, you have it all backed up. You have an arsenal full because you know your stuff, right? It's like, oh, okay, if you wanted to geek out like myself, we're fellow geeks in this fitness thing. All right, yeah, cool. Here's the reasons why. But it's also a little bit different in the West to the East. And then you got the middle ground at UK and they have a blend of the two because of blah, blah, blah. Great. We can have that discussion if you like to be a geek, but you don't need to know. Let's respectfully punt that to the other side of the room and let's jump and land.
Yeah. And it's like, I want to feel some empathy for anyone that's in that zone, right? Because again, I've been there and you've probably been there.
100%.
So, but it's like, can I at least try and shorten that window for you? I promise, you won't regret it. Being in that intermediate stage for too long, and there's a saying or a phenomenon in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is it's something along the lines of the sort of like the curse of I think it's the purple belt, or is it the blue belt? Which is, but around that middle zone, you get to blue belt or purple belt, and that's where people stay for the longest. And it's because the work required to move up in belts is very exponential in BJJ. There's only, what is it, like white, blue, purple. I forget if there's red, but brown, black. Like, there's only about 5 or 6 belts. I don't think it's red. So there's like 5 belts. So it's a really exponential jump. And so the work required to move to the next one gets harder and harder and harder. But then at the same time, they're getting that curse of the intermediate, and they're watching YouTube videos on how to, get the Kimura on and escape this hold and da-da-da. And they're fanboying after particular, athletes and tripping themselves up with overthinking, instead of, just like Glassman said, go back to the basics and practice them again and again and again and again. So that's often what gets us. Yeah,
it's where the ego usually pipes up a little bit in that middle phase. You start getting a little too big for our boots. It's why the adolescent, teenage years go. I mean, for dudes, it's until you're in your 30s, let's be honest. Like we're just dickheads.
I'm nearly out of my 40s and I'm only still getting control of it.
I think it's every day, man. It's that devil on the shoulder, Devil's always at the door, mate. But brother, I got 3 questions. What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
It's a good one. Well, there's a saying that has stuck with me ever since it was directed my way during some difficult times, and it'll be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end.
It's not the end, man.
And that was powerful, and it was like spot on, and it was like shit. I can't argue with that. And it proved to be true, and I've shared that one with many people too.
I like that a lot. What's the worst piece of life advice you ever received?
Well, it wasn't so much advice. you know, there's the tall poppy kind of syndrome that we are supposed to have in New Zealand. I think it's everywhere, but New Zealand in particular, small country. It was more like an underlying attitude that rubbed off on me. So it was kind of like advice, because I was picking it up from the way other people acted, which was to, you know, think that rich people were slimy, smart people were dickheads. And yeah, like I can just remember being at high school and thinking that the smarter kids were idiots. Like, I'm wagging school, I'm stealing money out of their bags, like to teach them a lesson. That's what I thought, you know. And who the hell was teaching me that? And I was just picking that up, just general attitude. And I'm very embarrassed and ashamed about it, because of course that is not how it works. So yeah, that's something I've sort of tried to push back against ever since I figured it out for myself.
I don't think there's anything to be embarrassed about, mate. You know, it's a lesson.
Yeah, sure, but yeah, certainly not happy about the way I acted. But yeah, say it was very common. It was very common to think that way, and it's still very common in this country. So yeah, definitely trying to remedy that and encourage other people not to think that way.
Last question. What are the 3 words you would tell your younger self?
Stop wasting time. Just we only got so much of it, right? So there's a lot of it that I can't remember, thanks to, you know, drunken blackout hazes, or just generally pissing about. And you know, there's got to be some room for being bored and some downtime and this, that, and the other, and kids will be kids and all that sort of stuff. But at some point, you know, there's better things you can be doing with it. So, and I'm still very guilty. I'm still so guilty of faffing, you know, these frickin' things trying to suck your life away, and I'm as guilty, if not guiltier, than many. So yeah, always working on that. And so yeah, I guess that advice is still being given to my current self by myself.
I think nature helps us do that, man. You know, it makes you feel a little inadequate, and I think that's beautiful, and I think it's necessary. You know, of like, just look around, dude. And if you're in the middle of the city, you know, go see a tree. I know it sounds kind of weird, the tree huggers and stuff, but just go watch a tree, man. You know, nature is a beautiful thing. There's a lot of lessons out there, mate, you know.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I've got this thing currently of watching the wind in the branches.
Told you.
Something like real spooky, but kind of beautiful about it.
People think you're crazy, mate, but
yeah.
We're all crazy in some way, you know.
In some way or another, yeah.
Yeah, some more than others, and one of them is definitely the one you're looking at. But anyway, brother, I appreciate it so much, man. And yeah, if we got time, we'll get a coffee on a weekend or something. If you're not doing anything, I'll see the itinerary from the lady. You know how it goes.
Nice
we show up and we do as we're told, and that's it.
Sometimes that's how it goes.
Mate, that's all good.
Sometimes that's best.
Yeah, mate, we got some time. We'll grab a coffee.
Good chatting.
Brother, appreciate it, man. You have a good day and we'll speak soon.
My pleasure.
Thanks.
Take it easy.
Bye, everybody.